Now, farmers are seeing the direct impact of supply chain issues taking place. Prices for materials are continuing to rise, and the supply, it's low. In today's Indiana Farm Report, I spoke to a Purdue professor about what farmers need to do to prepare for an anticipated herbicide shortage next year.
About 80% of the herbicide products that we use in the U.S. come from overseas.
Purdue University professor of weed science Bill Johnson says prices have already been on the rise for two main active herbicide ingredients coming from overseas, glyphosate and glufosinate.
One way to put this in perspective is that 3 years ago glyphosate cost $10 a gallon. Now we're seeing prices in excess of $50 a gallon, and we're hearing that it could go as high as $80 a gallon.
Not only are farmers like Josh Cox seeing those higher prices, they're also seeing the direct impact of supply chain issues of not being able to get the products.
When we started pricing product for this year, availability retailers were really not wanting to give prices because they weren't sure the availability of the product. And I think they're in that same boat still today.
Johnson says the supply chain disruptions are caused by a variety of factors.
The herbicide shortage situation first surfaced this summer. There are a number of retail outlets that had a hard time getting a hold of enough supplies of particularly glyphosate and glufosinate, so we had a little bit of a taste of it this summer. What we're hearing for the 2022 growing season is that those two active ingredients again are going to be an even greater shorter supply.
And because of that,
the farmers and the landlords need to be cognizant of the fact that weed control will be more difficult in 2022.
Johnson encourages growers to plan next year's weed control program, assuming you can only make one trip across the field with one of the active ingredients, which is what Cox has been keeping in mind.
As farmers, we have to be pretty flexible. And, as far as the herbicide shortages go, we'll remain hopeful that we can get the products that we want, but also have a game plan as to if we can't get those herbicides, maybe we're going to have to reduce our herbicide usage to a certain degree and stand for a few weeds in the field.
Cox says he started his input purchasing earlier than in previous years just to be prepared.
Due to the shortages we've seen, we've had to kind of speed up our purchasing process to try and procure the product for one, and then try to get ahead of the price increases.
Johnson is encouraging farmers to be prepared for the anticipated herbicide shortage. He said if farmers get caught next year without preparation for the anticipated shortage, it'll lead to yield loss.
Unless something changes very quickly with supply chain issues, shipping, and materials, that this will most likely persist into the next growing season. So my read on it is there's better than a 90% chance there's going to be a shortage of at least one of the active ingredients next year.